And now it's time for Power of Prophecy, continuing the legacy of Tex Mars, exposing evil, and promoting Jesus Christ as Savior. Here's your host, Jerry Barrett.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Power of Prophecy. I'm your host, Jerry Barrett. Honored to have you join me again this week. My buddy Pat McShay has come out with some outstanding articles revolving around Trump, Epstein, cover-ups, and we are going to talk today about Washington, D.C. is Zionist occupied territory. This is going to be part one. Next week we'll finish it up, but there is so much to cover. I asked Pat if we could do a couple hours on this because he blows the lid off on a bunch of stuff. So, Pat, welcome to Power of Prophecy.
Hey, Jerry, it's great to be back.
Man, the first article you sent me was Trump's second term, despite some successes, I like this phrase right here, has been a gauntlet of disappointment. That's a fact, is it not?
Yeah, it sure is. I talk in there about, all of the executive orders that Trump signed that, people were so happy about, the drill baby drill and, cutting off all the regulations that Biden put in place, securing the border, getting the male-born transgenders out of women's sports, and then he empowered Elon Musk and his Doge team to come in and find billions of dollars in government spending and waste, fraud, and abuse. But then, you had the liberal judges that blocked pretty much everything Trump did for the first few months. The Supreme Court finally stepped in, to stop all these orders. These judges are extremists. Most of the libs, Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson, Elena Kagan, they're going to vote against everything Trump does. But then in his second 100 days in office, Trump fans started becoming a little disenchanted when, he bombed Iran, and the fact that he's continuing to arm Ukraine, and the fact that, he's continuing to arm Israel, who is still slaughtering Palestinians every single day in Gaza and the West Bank. And Trump said he was going to stop that war in Ukraine. And here just the other day, after Bibi Netanyahu visited the White House for the third time in 5 months, Trump came out and said, hey, we're going to start sending missiles and defense systems that cost billions of dollars. The taxpayers are just going to, I guess, have to suck it up and pay for that after Trump said he wasn't going to send any more weapons. And he said that the only way this war would end is if he stopped arming Ukraine. So he's just gone back on everything. And I think people notice, too, that he looked subservient to Bibi Netanyahu in this latest bombing of Iran. Didn't look like Trump was giving the orders. It looked like Trump was taking orders. And I thought it made him look weak. And I think it made a lot of people think he looked weak as well. But, from judicial overreach to the Ukrainian debacle, the Gaza slaughter, the bombing of Iran, the Epstein, the JFK, the 9/11 cover-ups that Trump's continuing, and the smart ID and the Palantir surveillance that's starting a police state agenda, the lack of arrests in the Biden administration. Rand Paul's finally calling for Dr. Fauci's pardon to be thrown out because they now know that most of those pardons were signed by the auto pen, and I do think that they can get those thrown out. But there's still nothing going on with the Russiagate scandal. You've got the DOJ talking about starting an investigation into Comey and John Brennan, but I think they just threw that out there to keep people from talking about Jeffrey Epstein and the renewed interest in him. So his second term, like I called it, has been a gauntlet of disappointment to the majority of Trump fans.
Exactly. I mean, he's alienated Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, the list is long. Candace Owens. The list
Alex Jones.
Yeah.
All the people, even Steve Bannon, all the people that were instrumental in getting him elected, he's alienated.
You mentioned Palantir in your article and just now. How many people realize the depth? That's Peter Thiel.
Yes, Peter Thiel, the billionaire. He's Jewish, homosexual. He was in Trump's first administration, and he's a longtime business partner of our vice president, J.D. Vance. So there's a lot to unpack there. People need to look into Peter Thiel.
Yeah, and the data collection that Palantir is doing, not just globally, they're spying on American citizens. They're gathering data on us.
Yes, and they've always done that. William Binney was a whistleblower, one of the chiefs at the NSA for over 35 years. He said that they were spying on everyone, including federal court judges, Supreme Court judges, senators, and congressmen. And don't forget, Israel has gotten all of the raw data from the NSA for decades. Now, why is that?
Exactly. NSA built a brand new facility out in Utah with more supercomputers so they can gather everything. They're gathering cell phone, cordless phones. The Supreme Court ruled that information, that data, is out in the air. It's subject to being gathered by anybody. It's free reign.
Right. If they want to target somebody, they can look into your file, which obviously is all stored now electronically. They can look someone's phone calls up, their emails, their text messages, their everything, their life story, if they want to target them. And the government has also threatened people with putting things like child porn on their computer and then arrest them. They threatened a reporter, I'll think of her name, CBS reporter, I'll think of her name in a minute. They threatened her husband with putting child porn on his computer if he didn't give them the information they wanted. Cheryl Atkinson, CBS reporter. So we know this is going on.
If they can get it from you, they can put it on you. They have geeks that nobody realizes this, Pat, but the CIA, the DIA, the NSA hire hackers that have tremendous skills throughout the entire World Wide Web, whether it's the dark web or regular internet. They have hackers that can get in anybody's equipment. And it's not a shocker to me. And I'm a conspiracy scientist, Pat. The naysayers call me a conspiracy theorist. That's okay.
You and me both, brother.
But I know in my heart, I have no proof, but I can tell you if child porn ends up on my computer, it wasn't me surfing it. That would go completely against what me and this ministry stand for, is spreading the love of God, the message of salvation. All of that is part of this ministry, and it's about exposing evil. It's definitely not surfing the web in the dead of night looking for garbage like that. Goodness. I mean, I've got 3 kids, 7 grandkids, and it terrifies me how addicted to devices they all have become. But it doesn't shock me that Palantir, Thiel is buddies with Vance, he's buddies with Trump. They gave him the contract to gather all this data. And Tex reported that years ago, that raw data from the NSA was given to the Mossad.
Yeah. What more does the Mossad need to blackmail these people? For years, they may know about it now, but for years, people didn't believe that, they could be looked into like that. Especially these congressmen and senators probably all think that they're above that, but I believe that the majority of them are being blackmailed. So, interestingly enough, I just told you a little bit ago, there's a new video I saw on rents.com where Ghislaine Maxwell gave an interview where she said that Jeffrey Epstein is still alive and is still blackmailing our Congress. That's on the peoplesvoice.com, or I'm sorry, the peoplesvoice.tv. They could look that up. But she said he's still alive. So,
when they came out with that garbage that Epstein had hung himself, he was dead, the first thing that crossed my mind, the Mossad got him out of country in the dead of night with the help of American CIA assets. And he's retired, hanging out in Tel Aviv, and he's living the good life because he did his job. If you think back to J. Edgar Hoover, Hoover had dossiers on Congress and potential, according to Hoover, troublemakers like Martin Luther King. They had dossiers on these people. Now, through the age of technology and digitization of our information from your transcripts from elementary school all the way to your prescriptions that you take now, they have dossiers on every American citizen. Right. It's not going anywhere. When you think the Mossad, I've read books where America is targeted more for spies by the Mossad and Israel than Israel spies on any other country in the world.
Yes, that is true.
They target America. And when you consider when Trump got in office, and I had Henry Macko on the radio show, and he brought up the fact that Trump is a member of Chabad, which kind of doesn't surprise me when you look at who he put in his cabinet. He's got Rubio, Secretary of State. He's all about supporting the West Bank. Kristi Noem is a huge supporter of Israel. Pete Hegseth believes that we need to get rid of all the Muslims and give Israel control over the entire Middle East, make sure Greater Israel happens. Then you look at Huckabee as the ambassador to Israel. Pondy.
Well, he's the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. Bondi, Attorney General, she is a pro-Zionist shill. Her and Kristi Noem are trying to stomp out the First Amendment when it comes to anything relating to telling the truth about the Jews. But you brought up in your article, and it shocked me, I had no clue, Trump's chief of staff. What is her connection to Israel?
Yeah, besides being a former lobbyist for Pfizer like Pam Bondi, Susie Wiles lived in Israel and worked for Bibi Netanyahu's last campaign. So it's no wonder that Bibi's been to the White House 3 times in the last 4 or 5 months.
That begs the question, Pat, is who's running this country? Is it Trump, or is his puppeteer based out of Israel by the name of Bibi Netanyahu?
Yeah, I mean, you can go back to people that have been talking about our military and the deviants that run it, and going back to people like Kay Griggs, who I wrote about. Her husband was a colonel in the Marines. She said that Israel controls just about everything. She said that almost 30 years ago. A lot of people have said that. So it sure looks like it today, doesn't it?
It does. And when we talk about Ukraine, you brought that up earlier. Trump said when he got in office, he would end the war in Ukraine in one day. But
Yep.
now, was it last week where he said, yeah, we're going to continue sending arms to Ukraine. Putin is an idiot and he's hateful and he doesn't. Where did the 180 flip come in? Is it because Bibi on visit number 3 told Trump that, we can't trust Putin and you got to quit siding with Russia?
Yeah, I think it probably was a couple of things. I think one thing was continuing to arm Ukraine, which the Israelis have a big interest in. They were a big part of the coup in overthrowing the Ukrainian government during Obama's administration. No one wants to talk about that, but Trump will never bring that up. So that shows you that, they do not want the American people to know anything about our overthrow of that government a decade ago. But yeah, Bibi came in town for that. He came in town to finalize what he wants to do in Iran. They're not finished in Iran, I don't think, by a long shot. Another thing, they're probably asking for more money and more defense systems for Israel, because what most people don't know is that Israel was losing that 12-day war badly. They were getting pounded. The Israeli Mossad headquarters was demolished. Their Pentagon building was demolished. They did damage in several military bases, several cities in Israel, and Israel was looking for an off-ramp in that war. They were taking a lot more than they were giving. And Iran was said to have several thousand more missiles. Israel, on the other hand, was running out. And one reason Trump said that he couldn't send any more missiles to Ukraine is because we were running low. So he went completely a 180 turnaround, even though he admitted that we had diminishing munition supplies. Now he says, no problem. We're going to continue to send Israel more. We're going to continue to arm Ukraine. And on top of that, he started threatening Russia and China. I mean, so is all of this now happening because he really needs to get this Epstein scandal off the front pages, because it's right now all anybody wants to talk about.
Caroline Leavitt comes on all the time and she says, we're the most transparent administration that America has ever had. And there for a while, I was buying the shtick that this was a transparent administration. And then last week I did a program on the geoengineering that's been going on in this country for far too long. And Lee Zeldin from the EPA says we're going to be transparent. Go to this website. So I did a whole show on it. And they talked down to the people. And that coincided right after it came out where Bondi said there is no Epstein files after all the buildup. I mean, she passed out binders, 3-ring binders with redacted reports to alternative media,
Right.
proving that and saying, when I get the Epstein files, we're going to release. And then they didn't. Well, then Zeldin starts with his spiel about geoengineering because of the flood down here in Texas. That's immediately to offer subterfuge, in my opinion, to the Epstein scandal. And then Trump and his staff, his Zionist staff, coming out and bad-mouthing Putin and anybody that you're right. It seems like everything the Trump administration has done for the last 2 weeks is try to put something else on the front page instead of Epstein, Epstein, Epstein.
Yep.
Are you getting the same feeling?
Absolutely. When that story came out what was it, Friday night about the investigation being started into John Brennan and Jim Comey. My first thought was, why is this just coming out today? It seemed so obvious that they were trying to knock the Epstein story, off the front pages. So I don't think it worked. And most of the charges against those guys, I think the statute of limitations has already run out. And why did they wait 6-7 months to get it done or to get it started? I thought Trump was going to have hearings on January 6th. There's a lot of people not happy that that hasn't started. And wasn't he going to have hearings on the 2020 election fraud, which, I wrote 8 articles on that. There is a ton of evidence to support that, but nothing's been done about that. So it just looks like Trump's whole agenda so far has been pleasing Israel and continuing to arm Ukraine and Israel, things that he said that he wasn't going to do. Israel did have a ceasefire with Gaza that lasted only about 30 days. Israel violated that ceasefire. Trump didn't say a word about it.
He didn't say anything when they bombed Syria.
Oh, no. And there's a story today on Rents I saw that a big Christian community is under attack by these Israeli settlers right now. They're trying to drive these Christians out of their homes. And they'll get it done because the Israeli army will help them throw these people out. And ever since Trump was elected president and he dropped all the sanctions against the settlers that Biden had put in place, and it had stopped a lot of the violence. As soon as Trump got in office and dropped all those sanctions, he emboldened these settlers, and they've been killing Palestinians every day since. So Gaza's the same way. Israeli soldiers are admitting to newspapers in Israel that they are intentionally killing these Palestinians that are lining up for the food relief.
Mm.
I mean, that's monstrous behavior that never gets covered in the American media. People would be appalled to learn that Israeli snipers are ordered to shoot Palestinian kids in the head. Doctors in these hospitals in Gaza, they've all come forward. You can look these articles up on the internet. These doctors are coming forward and saying that they're getting kids in every day shot in the head by these Israeli snipers, and no one's doing anything about it. Of course, they're imprisoning the doctors and torturing them too. So it's really out of control. And it's gotten worse, 10 times worse since Trump took office.
When you give IDF, Bibi Netanyahu, carte blanche to do what you want, I mean, who staged October 7th? Was that a Mossad operation to draw more sympathy towards the Israeli cause because of all the Hamas alleged terrorists?
Oh, absolutely. I wrote an article about this, and I've even done some more studying on it, a little more research. And a number of people have looked into the accusations about the rapes and the beheaded children and all the deaths and what everyone says, every single one says that these things were made up. There is zero evidence that all of these rapes occurred. There's zero evidence that babies were put in ovens. Zero evidence of 1,400 people dead. Zero evidence other than the evidence that's been in the newspapers in Israel, like Barrett, that they interview Israeli soldiers who tell them that most of these people in the kibbutzes and at the concert area were killed by Israeli helicopter gunship fire, Israeli tanks, and Israeli troops on the ground. They had put the Hannibal Directive in place, which calls for killing everyone, including Israelis. And the Hannibal Directive also was in place on military bases, and a number of people on military bases were killed. So everything about that day is a lie, and they proved that Bibi Netanyahu had prior knowledge. So it's just like a lot of things. 9/11, the Israelis had prior knowledge, and so did the CIA. That's been proven by witness testimony. None of that's ever been on TV, and they will never admit it, no matter how much evidence comes forward. And just like the JFK assassination, Trump has never released all of the documents. He keeps acting like he did, but he hasn't, and he never will, because all of these events, JFK, RFK's assassination, 9/11, these were all planned by Israel. The war in Iraq was planned for Bibi Netanyahu 5 years before 9/11. The weapons of mass destruction were all made up. It was a fiction, a lie. That was to tell the American people why we were going into a sovereign nation that wasn't threatening anyone and had nothing to do with Al-Qaeda, to invade that country. We killed over 1 million people, and we still have one of the largest bases in the Middle East, right there in the green zone in Iraq. So, and we'll probably never leave.
No, because we are the proxy. The bloodshed is American, but the benefactor is Israel. And it's been that way forever, it seems like. Pat, it's not changing anytime soon. No. You reported that there was a bombing in a seaside cafe in Gaza. I thought there was a ceasefire. No. And, the thing is, you say that it's never been reported in America. Who controls the publishing? Who controls the papers? Who controls the media? They're all Jewish owned. So, of course,
yes,
you want to play off that we are the victim. I mean, that's what anti-Semitism is. They throw that out there because it's a deflector, and I'm the victim, and you're an aggressor, and you're a bad person because what you say, if I say is anti-Semitic, that throws the onus on you as the bad guy. And it's been that way since World War II, with the concentration camps. The Jews knew that Hitler was going to deport all these Jews, and they said, no, you have to keep them. Because everything was about greater Israel. The only way we're going to get worldwide sympathy is if we play the victim card. And we already got a number in our head. It's going to be 6 million that died, even though maybe 500,000 to 1 million died. So
the Germans offered the Jews their freedom for a price, and the international Jewish community said no.
Yeah, keep them.
The leadership said no.
That's the Hannibal doctrine right there. Well, Pat, we have flown through 30 minutes, buddy. We got to take a break. We are just getting started, folks. Pat has tremendous articles that we're going to discuss. Whole lot more to get to in the second half. You're listening to Power of Prophecy. Stay with us, won't you? We'll be right back. Voltaire, a French writer, once wrote, "To learn who rules over you, simply find out who you're not allowed to criticize." That should be evident today in these times. Hello, friends. Jerry Barrett back with you again. As you know, Tex Mars wrote a number of books exposing the people who say they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. For that, Amazon has banned a number of his books. They completely canceled all of his digital books on their Kindle platform because of alleged hate speech. Truth is not hate speech. But if you want to control the masses, you control the speech. This is why there's an attack on our First Amendment rights. I want to tell you about an outstanding book that Tex Mars wrote a few years ago entitled Holy Serpent of the Jews, the Rabbi's Secret Plan for Satan to Crush Their Enemies and Vault the Jews to Global Dominion. In the book Journey to the Center of the Torah, written in 2007 by Rabbi Joel David Bax, he wrote, quote, "We have journeyed to the center of the world and landed in the belly of a serpent," close quote. Today, we're on the threshold of a horrifying new epic of Jewish history. Now comes the Holy Serpent, slithering from his fiery abode in hell to wreak havoc upon humanity. Jesus once declared, "Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell?" Amazingly, the Jews have proven to be exactly what Jesus prophesied. They are the people of the serpent, unregenerated hypocrites whose religion is unparalleled in its treachery, its wickedness, and its unbounded filth. The Kabbalah and the Talmud, authored by the rabbis, are the very code of hell, the doctrines of devils. On the surface, the Jews appear to be pious, humanitarian, charitable, and good. The very picture of saintly human beings, they are said to be exalted and true, God's chosen people. But appearances are deceiving. The evil spirits of those who once worshiped Moloch, who fashioned a golden calf in the desert, and who tortured and tormented Jesus Christ are back, and the whole world is in jeopardy. Making its way on stage is the most colossal devil religion ever. The people of the serpent have awakened Abaddon and disturbed the sleeping behemoth. The holy serpent of the Jews is on the move, and it's poised to strike. 224-page book written by Tex Mars. We're only asking $20. Please add $6 shipping and handling. That will make your total $26. You can order your copy by phoning us toll-free in the United States and Canada at 1-800-234-9673. Again, that's 1-800-234-9673. If you care to phone us on our regular line, that number is 512-263-9780. We're in the office Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time. We accept Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. You can use those charge cards by going to our secure shopping cart at powerofprophecy.com. powerofprophecy.com. There's an ad for Holy Serpent right there on the main page. Click on it. Pick your quantity, put in your name, address, charge card, shipping method, hit submit, we'll get it and get it coming to you. If you want to use one of those charge cards and fax your order in to us, our fax number is 512-263-9793. Just write down your name, address, charge card, expiration date, and the note that says you want to get a copy of Holy Serpent of the Jews. and we'll process it and get it coming to you. If you care to send in a check, money order, or cash, please make your check or money order payable to Power of Prophecy, and you can mail it to us here at 4819 R.O. Drive, Suite 102, Spicewood, Texas, and our zip code is 78669. Holy Serpent of the Jews, $26 postpaid. If you don't have a copy, you need to get one today. Okay, and now let's return to our regular program. My guest today is Pat McShay. Pat, welcome back.
Hey, Jerry, it's great to be here.
Now, we are talking about the Zionist-occupied territory of Washington, D.C., and recently, for the third time in 5 months, Bibi Netanyahu made the pilgrimage to visit his puppet, Donald Trump. Bibi has been indicted by the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity, and I think that's very telling. And Ilhan Omar, of all people, has brought up the fact that Netanyahu should have been arrested when he landed in America for crimes against humanity. But this war criminal did something that, well, I was flummoxed by it. Pat, what did he do for Donald Trump?
Well, just recently at the White House in a cabinet meeting, he presented Trump with a official nomination that he had made for the Nobel Peace Prize for Trump, which is kind of shocking in that Trump wanted to be the peace president, but I'm afraid he owns this war in Iran now, and he owns the Gaza slaughter now. He is behind the slaughter in the West Bank by dropping those sanctions. And the fact that he is arming Bibi Netanyahu, a convicted war criminal, who in the last 3 months, think of this, Israel has bombed Syria, Yemen, Iran, Lebanon, Gaza, and the West Bank. You know, the only country that Israel hasn't bombed are the countries that the United States pays them to be nice to. You know, Egypt and Jordan. The only reason we give them billions of dollars every year is to put up with Israel. So you wonder how long the people in Jordan or Egypt are going to put up with their leaders being so friendly with the United States and Israel. Turkey, who is a member of NATO, they're not real happy at all with Israel either. Russia is not happy with Israel. China is not happy with Israel. You know, Pakistan hates Israel.
Oh, yeah.
India hates Israel. You know, Israel doesn't have too many friends. And if you look at the countries that still support Israel, like New Zealand and Australia, the EU countries, the countries in the UK, England, Ireland, Scotland, the United States, there have all been major pedophile scandals in all of those Western countries. Nicole Kidman's father in Australia was a pedophile and a leader in Australia who killed himself when he was about to go to court over his abuse of young children. But this goes on in all of the Western countries. The Franklin cover-up that we've talked about before went all the way to the top of the Reagan White House. George H.W. Bush was in charge of that. they had a brownstone in Washington, D.C. that had cameras and recording devices in every room. And like Jeffrey Epstein, like P. Diddy, where all of the rooms in the houses everything is being recorded, the brownstone, they were luring politicians and businessmen, military leaders to this place to bring in young children for whatever sexual deviant behavior that these guys were involved in, and they were blackmailing them. So this has been going on for, decades and decades, all the way back, to the 50s and 60s. Trump's original mentor was a New York mob attorney that was Tail Gunner Joe's attorney when he was in Congress and, accusing all these politicians of being communists. He was also setting up and bribing politicians and celebrities for Israel back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So this has been going on for decades and decades. Jeffrey Epstein's just the latest. P. Diddy's, I guess, the latest. And we've seen that his case is blowing up in the New York court's face. I think it's being done on purpose. It's being handled by Jim Comey's daughter. I'm sure she's a deep state fixer just like her dad.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree with these corrupt people.
No.
So I'm not shocked that, and my wife Leslie, she was appalled. Being a teacher, she is pro-children, anti-parent, because she dealt with some really just obnoxious parents, but she's so soft-hearted when it comes to the children. I don't understand how these people that have been ascending into power, like Nicole Kidman's dad, how they don't commit suicide after they realize the dastardly deeds that they've done. They've harmed humanity with their perversions. Epstein, Diddy. Diddy is going to get 2 convictions, maybe. He'll spend, Martha Stewart years in prison, 4 or 5 maybe. And then he'll be back out on the street. But now he is a pawn for these power brokers. He handled their business and he got these videos so that they could blackmail more people. But if and when he comes out, and I say if because he could be Epstein, you just don't know. He could be shipped off to Israel. But
yeah.
Or he could outright be murdered in prison like Dahmer was. But what's he do when he gets out? Because now he is part of the global Zionist network.
Well, these people are Satanists. The reason that, Allie Carter was she was a young girl that was basically sold by her birth mother to the elite. She was abused by a lot of different people in Hollywood, like P. Diddy and she names a bunch of different movie stars and celebrities. And she says that these people are Satanists, that they have rituals, black masses, blood sacrifices. So again, this has been going on for a long time. And the guy I was just talking about, Roy Cohn, was Trump's first mentor. And he was blackmailing prominent political people and celebrities back in the 50s to the 70s, 80s and he was doing it for Israel. So he was also a mob attorney, and he was a homosexual, closet homosexual. And again, I think he was a Satanist. I think all these people are Satanists that deal with this stuff. So, and Chabad Lubavitch, those people are Satanists. Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is a Chabad Lubavitch member, which is a radical sect of the Jewish faith, and they hate Christians. Bibi Netanyahu is a Chabad Lubavitcher, and Donald Trump is said to be a Chabad Lubavitcher. Some people say that Trump is a converted Jew, but a lot of people say no, he was born a Jew. His birth name was Trump, and Trump is a Bavarian Jewish name. His grandmother's name was also a Jewish name. So Jared Kushner's family has given millions of dollars toward the settlements in the West Bank. So they are behind a lot of this violence. That's why Trump, no doubt, has been pardoning a lot of these Jews. He pardoned the handler for Jonathan Pollard, who was the Israeli spy that was spying for Israel. He was an American-born Jew and was caught spying. They said that they thought that a lot of people died as a result of his treachery. He was given a life sentence, and Barack Obama caved under pressure from Israel to pardon him. He immediately moved to Israel, and then Trump pardoned his handler when he was in office the first time. Trump has also pardoned some really despicable characters that were Jews, and someone should have asked for an explanation, but no one ever does. Just like no one will likely question most of Biden's, even though most of those probably weren't legitimate.
Right. This Epstein thing, pretty much, even though I know there was a conviction, back in 2008, but this whole Epstein drama has been planted firmly in Trump's lap. I mean, this is his administration's cover-up. This is, without a doubt, Trump's baby. By hiding the data.
Well, isn't it interesting that Acosta, the guy that gave Epstein the sweetheart deal, 20 years ago, he said that the reason that he handled him with kid gloves was because of his relationship with the intelligence community. He didn't mention Israel specifically, but most of those people won't name Israel because they're afraid to. He admitted that 20 years ago that he was involved with the intelligence community, and that was the reason he was given a sweetheart deal. So you wonder why Ghislaine Maxwell, I think she got the bigger sentence because they wanted something done after Epstein died to throw to the public, but I'd be shocked if she's even in prison. She probably has a condo in Tel Aviv too.
It's possible. Now, she did come out recently and say that she wants to testify to Congress. I can't see that coming to fruition.
Yeah, she's also said that she said Epstein's still alive. So, and she said that she can help him with the list and all kinds of stuff, but they don't want this stuff to come out. That's why none of these names were brought up when she was convicted. That's why her trial went so quick. they didn't want any of this to come out. So they worked out a quick deal with her, and we'll never hear another word from her. If she ever gets out, she'll be threatened, and she won't give up much, I doubt.
I doubt it. If you want to keep living in this life, you will acquiesce to whatever the Mossad wants. Even Bongino, when he had his podcast, he said that Epstein was an intelligence asset for somebody in the Middle East. Well, what's his last name? Epstein? It's pretty obvious.
I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. The reporter, he said, that gave him that information would not tell him the name of the country. Again, these people are scared to death to say Israel. Who in the world else would he be working for if not Mossad? He's not going to be working for Saudi intelligence.
No. And you quoted the author of Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Ari Ben Menashe, a former Mossad agent, who says that Epstein and Ghislaine were assets of the Mossad. They were running a honey trap. Goodness.
Yes. He says that right in his book. So I don't know, maybe Pam Bondi hadn't heard of that book. That book's been out for 2 or 3 years, I think, now.
I'm sure Bondi's heard about the book, but it's still, I mean, like I said, this cover-up is firmly in Trump's lap, and he's learning the art of deception. What is the Mossad motto? By way of deception? Well, Trump is right in the thick of it now, trying to come up with different headline-grabbing things to hide, to get Epstein off the front page.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, Trump thought he had the base all locked down, but man, this stuff's all turning on him. His popularity is plummeting, and until he does something about this, he underestimated the public's interest in this Epstein scandal. And like I said, most of this happened over a decade ago. His last arrest was 9 years ago, and he's been dead for 6. So there's a lot of people that don't know that much about what happened. And a lot of people don't know how much of a connection Trump had with Epstein. They were best friends for 15 years. And there is evidence that Trump wasn't just a bystander in this scandal. So I write about that in my new article, and there's just an awful lot about Trump that's being hidden from the public. My new article is called Jeffrey Epstein, Israeli Spying and the Worldwide Pedophile Network. People need to read this. There is so much out there that the media lies about and censors, and the censorship is just getting worse every day. Get off of Google. Google is terrible. Google censors everything. And it's not just their search engine. Google Chrome. Get off of Google Chrome. They're censoring sites that are going to give you the truth. It's just like watching MSNBC getting on Google Chrome. They do not want you to know the truth. Google will divert you to everything but the truth about whatever you're asking about. Yeah. So
the thing that gets me, I know that Trump is insulated, and his handlers like Susie Wiles aren't going to let a lot of regular Joes like you and me come in and address him and try to give him an inkling of what's really going on. And I know that every handler, whether it's congressmen, senators, it doesn't matter, their chief of staff is the one setting policy because they are the ones that control the flow of information. But this gaslighting of the American people of the Epstein scandal, if they had an inkling of a brain in this administration, you would think that, okay, well, there were some incriminating files and we're investigating them, but here is a partial Epstein list. That would have flown so much better than the lie that Bondi and Trump have tried to perpetuate, which has led to, man, it's just so many supporters are so angry.
Well, it's like I wrote in my last article. There are 14 terabytes of videos. There are thousands of hours of videos. There's thousands of documents. I just saw the other day that they haven't even gotten all the documents from the court in New York yet, that Maureen Comey is still sitting on documents that she hasn't turned over. So anyone that thinks that we have everything on Epstein, we haven't seen any of it. So, and Trump, it kills me how, the people on Fox News, boy, they're barely talking about it, aren't they? They just do not want to talk about it. And I don't think any of these other networks are talking about it a whole lot, but now the Democrats are saying, we want to see the list. So whatever Trump says, they do the opposite. So when Trump says nothing to see here, now all the Democrats are coming out of the woodwork saying, we want to see the list. We want more information. I don't know that they're going to like to see the list once they see it, because this uniparty, I'm sure both Republicans and Democrats are both on the list.
Oh, I'm sure. When Trump took office, he said that he was going to restore the good name of the FBI, the Department of Justice. We were going to be transparent. We are going to get the bad guys. We're going to instill trust in our federal law enforcement agency. The only federal law enforcement agency that I see doing anything positive is the Immigration Customs Enforcement officers. The FBI looks like a complete show of incompetence. And I can't believe that after watching Kash Patel testify, listening to Bongino all these years on his podcast, that these guys are dishonest, but they are being handcuffed by Bondi, by Trump, by Netanyahu into following the program. It's aggravating to see and know so much of what's going on and not able to educate and bring to light all the corruption that's going on inside this Zionist occupied territory known as Washington, D.C. It's sad, and that's going to take care of this week's program. Pat, thanks for coming on and being a guest, buddy.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Jerry.
Okay, we've got one more show to do because this is huge. Pat has put together some tremendous information. We want to thank you for tuning in and giving us an hour of your time. We greatly appreciate it. And as always, I pray you will tune in again next week at this same time. Tune in and discover the power of prophecy.